While Holland may have taken the victory last week, curiously, Seitz only lost 1 point to him entering today's race. How did that happen? Greg seems to be capitalizing in other areas for bonus points in order to keep David accountable. Could this tactic keep him within range and let him pounce on any of the multi-time champions' mistakes? We'll see if it does today as we get ready to watch Round 7 of the PRL Formula 3 Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel and the iRacing eSports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Nick Schmeg. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Phillip Island was the scene of one of last season's many run-ins between our two rivals. It's a tricky place to race side by side. To find out what we mean, let's head down to our track guide to learn more. Welcome to Phillip Island. As the name implies, this track is located on a splotch of land off the south coast of Australia near Melbourne. While there's been plenty of racing here for close to a century, the track's current incarnation has only been around since the late 80s. And this version is a doozy. With only 12 turns spread across the roughly 4.5 kilometers, it's a decently fast circuit. But what really makes this place stand apart is the incredible variety in those few corners. From negative to positive camber, early apexes, late apexes, blind crest, hairpins, sweepers, if you name it, it's probably got it. On top of that, the front stretch tends to offer up a slipstream with its incredible length, but it then forces the drivers into a game of chicken by chucking them into the frightening doing. Corners like Lukey Heights stretches a car's grip to the limit and then shocks you with a sudden downhill braking into MG. Retaining something of an old-school twist, unlike most modern courses, Phillip Island has earthen embankments running along many parts of the track. While it's meant to keep the cars safely retained within the circuit's confines, anyone unfortunate enough to manage to jump them will be faced with a ton of damage for their troubles. A variety of types of racing take place at the track, including motorcycles, lower-level open-wheelers, and touring cars. Possibly the most well-known among those is the Australian Supercars Championship. With the Aussie reputation of having dangerous, difficult, and challenging circuits, Phillip Island certainly holds up to the standard. The beautiful views of the beach and the ocean may lure some of the fans in, but there's no doubt that the incredible racing at this unique track keeps them around. Certainly is a unique track that they race on here, but why don't we get into the nitty gritty of things, Nick, and go over some of the details?
Yes, we're here at Phillip Island Circuit tonight, which, as the name suspects, as you could guess, we are on the actual Phillip Island just south of Melbourne here in Victoria, Australia. A beautiful setting overlooking the Bass Strait. 2.7-mile track, 12 turns, 4.4 kilometers, that is. And this track, like you said, it's a little bit hard to run side by side. You have a fast Gardner straight down into Doohan in the southern loop to begin the lap. There you see at the bottom right of the of the overhead track map, and a lot of times you'll be able to get runs there, but it's so hard to hold a line there while you're flat out or struggling to become flat out. Then it gets a little bit tight and twisty later on. You have Honda Corner, Siberia, and Lukey Heights. That's where a lot of the motorcycles here that race will really prevail. But tonight, that's really going to be a test for the driver's offensive and defensive bravery. Overall, Phillip Island is a track considered by many, like I said, to have tough passing. But as we get later into the season here, perhaps we'll see some drivers begin to lay it all on the line this evening in Australia.
Yeah, I suspect with as close as that championship fight is, it could cause a few to take some risks. Let's talk about our sponsor before that. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. Now, we mentioned that championship, so why don't we take a look at the points? As I said, there was only a single point change since last round. And up at the top of that, we have David Holland 13 ahead of Greg Seitz. Then you've got quite a big jump down there where it's quite tight for third and fourth. Hermer and Sirwa, only 1 point separating those two. And then just a little bit of a gap back to David McDonald, who seems to be at least there or thereabouts, but hasn't quite had enough to be taking wins so far this season. Still, consistency has been his friend. Also got a team's championship, Nick. Why don't we look at that?
Yeah, and this is one of the biggest gaps in the team's championship that we've seen all season long. 15 points, Rust Racing Iron. That's Greg Seitz and Samuel Hermer leading the way there. Hermer had a great race last week at Spa as well. And that's going to put David Holland's team, Vantage Azuro, back a little bit more. They're going to have to fight if David Holland wants the Drivers' Championship and the Team's Championship this year. Further down, you see Lavoy, Rust Racing Steel, and Punto CL Racing as well. They're all trying to fight for the podium right now. That looks like it's fairly locked up.
Now, in case you've never watched this series before, let's run you down the race details for today. We are at round 7 out of 10, and it is a 45-minute sprint race that they run in this series. Cars are open setup, and that's been important at a lot of tracks, especially so here because, well, downforce could be a big talking point throughout today. They have a stop and go penalty at 11 incidents and a disqualification, which means you will actually be removed from the track immediately at 20 incidents. There's a few places where you could get those, but otherwise it's not generally a place that it's typically a concern. And they have those bonus points that I talked about in the intro to the broadcast down there. And those are what we've seen Greg Seitz snatching up. Now, last time he took the pole at Spa, and let's see if he can do it again today as we'll get ready to watch qualifying here in a second. Make sure before we get to that you subscribe to IESN. The iRacing Esports Network has all kinds of great iRacing action, including many of the PRL series that we cover here on GSRC. All you got to do to subscribe is click the big red button that says subscribe. Up at the top, Sam Hermer, of all people, is currently our provisional pole sitter, and that's not for lack of trying from David Holland. He's actually coming across the line right now, and he does go quicker by about 0.3, and well, there you go. That changes the story right there. And then once again, Greg Seitz up to pole. Looking at that bonus point, he goes about 6/100ths faster than David.
Yeah, there's that fight for the championship. The top 3 in points are the top 3 on the board right now. Seitz, Holland, and Hermer. Of course, that's not the order that they're in the championship fight. But remember last week at Spa, Holland struggled to get a little bit quicker than Seitz in qualifying trim. He actually started second behind him, but on lap 1 was able to jump him. At a track like Phillip Island, though, he might not be able to bank on that jump as much.
Yeah, there's really only one big long straight on that Gardner straight on the front stretch, so that'll be his best opportunity to use those slipstream moves as we watch Matt Quinn now down in 16th, and he does not go faster that time by, so it looks like he's going to pull over and take a fresh car, get back out there one more time. Clenard doing okay-ish, not phenomenal, but also not bad for his previous results. The 027 sits in 6th with a 22.2 and about half a second behind our pole sitter currently. Let's see what he's got this time by. It's going to be a 22.4. That's not going to improve his time, so he's got to go one more. As Holland comes across, he's about a 10th slower that time through. Still has those 6 minutes left, so he certainly has the ability to try more times. Santana way far down for Kevin here in 18th, and he's had at least 4 timed laps.
Seems to be struggling with grip. I've noticed it's very cloudy out there.
And that might be what's keeping the track a little bit cool. You can see it's only 74 degrees Fahrenheit. It is also quite windy. I wonder if maybe that's affecting them more so than the temperature. At 17 miles an hour is quite gusty.
Yeah, I saw that up to just above 20 just a little while ago, too. So it's gusting off the Bass Strait.
As we watch Verity here. Now, Holland and Seitz are relatively close to one another. In fact, I see Holland heading out of MG. That's the final hairpin. Leads you into the last 2 corners. There you see the Texan driver getting ready to set up the run. That run out of the hairpin can be so critical to carrying speed and gaining time, both on this lap and the next one. And look at him hug it to the left side, trying to cut the lap shorter here. A 21.822, that's mildly faster, but not quite fast enough. And Seitz actually goes even quicker himself, a 21.6.
That is fast. That is 2/10 faster than Holland.
It is very, very tight up at the front of the field right now. Sam Hermer still within 7/100ths of David Holland himself. Even though Seitz has got those 2/10, looks like they're finding some speed as the qualifying moves on. Hermer's not going to improve Guyon as he comes through. Looks like he also needs to go around again if he wants to get a quicker lap in. Looking through the order, so far we're only missing 2 drivers to set times, Tyler Gore and Matthew Gunderson. I see Gore is in the session, and it does appear that Gunderson is in the server currently, so he's not in pit lane, and I'm not sure why he's leaving it till so late to get his first time lap in. Serwa trying to chase Hermer. About a 10th and a half to go, and it's not going to be this lap. He's coming in to practice that pit entry, which he does nice and cleanly.
Bit of a tricky one here. It's quite narrow.
And it's got those cones so late. It's certainly
Yeah.
tempts you to try and push it hard. And we've seen speeding penalties here before, so I wonder if we'll see them again today rear their ugly head. This is Sights once again, and this time by, oh, it was an improvement, it looked like. Thought it was on the timing screen, and I need to double check that as I also had my eyes on Hermer, who pushes himself up to third. No, he stays in third, excuse me. They bear down in 22nd. The last driver with a time currently. So you can only go up from here, unless obviously those two other drivers get out on track and put a lap down. But they're running out of time for themselves to try and do so, since we're looking at laps in the 124, 125 range. Well, 123, 124 rather. So we watch Don Lee now sitting in 12th, and we've switched to Santana. See if Santana can do better than the 22.4. Yes, he does. So Santana goes up a little bit. Crane Foose across the line. And that's not going to be quicker for him. What about our pole sitter? Can he make it even harder for Holland? No, he doesn't go faster. Holland's still not out on the track. And we saw this last week, Nick, that he gave up a little bit early. I don't think he can get out really and get a good one in from here.
Yeah, we asked him about that in the post-race interviews last week, and he said he was giving it his all. Nothing about strategy, nothing gimmicky about what he was doing. Just Greg was flat out quicker than him in qualifying trim.
Ooh, Alex Guyon up to fourth. A 22 flat last time for him. Matt Quinn is not any better for that one. Everybody crossing the line is now on their final lap, because we are under that 124, 123 mark. Ooh, and Sights is going slow right now. I think he's trying to find himself space, actually.
I think he might be. They were talking about that. The drivers were before the qualifying session began.
And it's not a terribly large field, so it's not like we're crunched for space at some place like Lime Rock where you are looking for that open track. Crane Foose, once again, the Buckeye, is in the top 10, and he wants a little bit more than that, but he's not going to get it this time. 22.3 certainly won't do it. Looks like we've got Guyon up next. The Canadian has jumped up to fourth recently, the 808 car, with that 22 flat, as he's still got more left in it. No, not this time by. One last chance this lap. That is Sights and Green. Sights giving Green a little bit of a tow. Greg, obviously, on a slow one since he was trying to find some track space there. Sheldon Rosenbaum also not going quicker. Legault, ooh, he does improve. A 22.3. Checkered flag comes out just as Matt Quinn sneaks across the line before it waves. A Bear will be the first to get it, and he does not manage to improve, sadly. Serrois doesn't either. Next up, looks like that is going to be Raymond Day sitting in 11th. A 22.3 stays put. That was a 22.9 for him. Not many drivers out on track right now to take this final lap. Guyon's going to abandon his. He's not happy with it. It's Raymond Day, the next one.
Looks like Ponick is out
like
there
Mark
still.
Ponick, yeah.
He's back in 17th right now. Sitting about 2/10 behind Matt Quinn to try to improve, and looks like he might be a little bit slow. Looks like he got it going again. Must have had a slide there when I saw him.
And he's done with it. He takes it in the pit lane. Does Rosenbaum do the same? No, Sheldon's going to finish it out. See if he can go higher than P18. 22.7 is his marker, about a tenth and a half to get up to Ponick. Down and across the line. 22.4, yes. That's his best, and that's going to put him in 16th. Serrois bumped down to 5th since we last looked. He's going to complete this lap, and he's the last driver on track. Can he get that 19 machine onto the front 2 rows? No. Looks like he is done. I think he had already finished. So let's take a look at our starting grid for today, round 7 in the PRL F3 series. Greg Seitz with another pole and another bonus point. David Holland starts second next to him, with Sam Hermer the inside of row 2. Got Alex Guyon with good speed today, it seems, starting in P4, and David Serrois in 5th position. David McDonald, we talked about his consistency. Starting on the outside of row 3 will do him good on that end. Mitchell Green starts 7th, and then Rod Clenard starts P8. Inside of row 5 is Stephen Verity, and then Daniel Cranefoos will be starting in 10th.
Behind them, it's going to be Raymond Day and Mauricio Cuero in P11 and P12, making up row number 6. Then Don Lee out of the great state of Illinois, going to be starting in 13th alongside Kevin Santana, right in front of Olivier Legault in 15th. Sheldon Rosenbaum will round out row number 8 there. And then the 007 of Matt Quinn and Mark Ponick will make up row number 9. 19th and 20th are going to go to Sebastian Prue and Christopher Richards.
21st goes to David Blackwood, and the last driver to put a time in was David Hebert. Gunderson and Gore are actually already out on the grid, so they will be taking part today. We are going to have a 24-car field out here. Should be a nice full track. Should be some good action. Already we're seeing most of them having put their car out and are waiting for the green flag. 45 minutes of racing here in Australia. And again, can't discount what we saw last year, where our front row came together in the race for what was the nth time during the season, making contact with one another. Let's hope it doesn't come to that, or if it does, let's hope they can both keep racing. Looks like Holland is out on the grid. We're waiting on the pole sitter, as well as Santana and Prue. Looks like Prue is out there now. Now it's only Seitz that we have to wait to put it on the grid. You really should not be starting from pit lane here. There he goes. Last car to put himself out there. So, as the engines start to rev, the lights come up. Green flag is out. Oh, it's a poor start from Seitz, already under attack, going around the outside. This is not good because the first braking zone is going to be into the southern loop, and that's a left-hander. Holland already before they get there, he's going to be in the lead. Maybe coming back at him. He gets a little bit of a slipstream. Seitz looks on the long way around there into the southern loop. That doesn't work out. Into third, Serrois almost making contact with Hermer as they're very stacked up from third on back.
Serrois went elbows out to get up from 5th to 3rd there. He almost, like he said, hit Hermer out of the way. And then David McDonald is having to march his way up to the field. Trouble behind them. Someone spinning. That's Rod Clenard.
And a change to the lead once again. Seitz going past Holland, but he's around the outside of Siberia now. He's clinging to it, but barely. Side by side battling. This is how they ended their race, at least one of their races last time. Can Seitz avoid that same fate? He's going to dive it in. It looks like Holland is desperately trying to get that track position, but it's just not there. Seitz with a recovery back up to the lead after losing it at the start.
That has allowed David Serrois to close in that gap as well, and a train of cars follow him in Sam Hermer and David McDonald.
Here's where we get our first taste of what the slipstream offers on the front stretch. Seitz your leader, Holland second, Serrois third, Hermer 4th, and McDonald in P5. As they start to close in on one another, Holland is gaining a whole lot here. In fact, he's going to look to the inside of Doohan, but that's going to be the outside of the southern loop. As they almost come together, and Holland almost gets shoved off course. We got a car off behind them.
McDonald
nearly ran into Guyon. Thankfully, both of them were heads up, and they stayed out of each other.
Yeah, now it becomes, like you said, we saw a look there on the Gardner straightaway. It becomes a game of downforce. Who has less, who has more? Will it help him accelerate on the straightaways, or will it help him corner better? Looks like Seitz might have a little bit more than Holland.
I was going to say, if that one was anything to go by, Holland looks like he's got it really trimmed out and wants to run. So we now ride with Holland. Just looking over his shoulder here. He's being down through MG. Ooh, bad exit though from Holland. That could scupper his chances. Surwa is going to look very strong here, already covering off the inside. David Holland might feel a little bit under threat. Onto the Gardner straight. Surwa come together. Holland goes off. Surwa goes off. Neither of them hit anything. It's a lot of open field out there.
David Holland trying to find the track, trying to rejoin it. Traffic coming by him. He gets on safely.
He clattered over that earthen embankment too.
Big time.
Oh, that has got to have damaged the car. I'll be shocked if it didn't. We're watching from onboard Holland. Let's see what it looks like from his perspective here. Oh. God, I can't believe he didn't get wing damage from that.
And it doesn't look like he has... It doesn't look like he's got any suspension damage either. I'm looking at his steering wheel. He seems to be fine.
Wow, that was a risky move. I wondered when I saw him heading that way why he was going straight for the track. He's back in 9th right now. There you see him on screen. He's ahead of Don Lee and Sheldon Rosenbaum. He's got a lot of work to do. And Seitz seems to honestly have an open goal for potential win as we watch this battle between Legault and Prue. And that is Prue that you see in the dark car being chased by the red and white machine of Olivier Legault, trying to look through side by side in Swan. Usually you wait for the slipstream down the straight and he's going to get back in line, but that may have hurt his momentum.
Yeah, quite ambitious there to look on the inside for Legault. Now he'll duck back in to the right side of the track, into Doohan. He's not going to be able to stick it down there. Gets on the curb a little bit. Going to try to back up the entry into the southern loop. I don't think he's going to have the run, but Prue slides a little bit.
So that's going to give Legault another shot. He gets a decent exit off the southern loop. Stoner is a flat-out run, and it makes it easy to cover the inside, as Prue shows, because coming into Honda, he's going to cover him off deep on the brakes. Legault trying to see if he can go the long way around. Still, he's got a little bit of an overlap coming up to Siberia. He's given space at the inside of the corner as Prue locks it up. Still, they continue to battle as now they're joined by Holland, and he's already been in trouble trying to fight with other cars. This could prove disastrous if he's not careful. He gets one past Legault, up with Prue right behind him, up and over Lukey Heights. Steep braking here into MG, but he's too far back for a move.
Yeah, Holland is going to be in a hurry. Prue locks it up a little bit. Not enough for Holland to gain in on him. Now we know Holland has less downforce, it looks like, so he should be able to slingshot him around Prue on the Gardner straight here. He's got a big run.
This will be the first time we'll see if he's got damage that's hurting the aero on this car, though. And it doesn't look like it. Seems like he's holding good speed. Because it looks like he's going to have it over Prue. And indeed, Sebastian's going to give it up and let him through into that 7th place. I have to say, Nick, it's almost a bit of the racing gods maybe finally delivering a bit of what David has avoided so many times, because you think back to last season as we look at this battle for 4th, constantly he was contact, not necessarily always his fault, with Seitz, and it seemed like Seitz was always the one that came off the worst. And this time, instead, it was Holland with contact who had the bad luck.
Exactly. See this battle here, a lot more drafting battle going on. This for 4th place. Looking at the back, Mauricio Cuero here. Those two back there battling are Guyon and Raymond Day, who has really benefited a lot from this attrition. Started back in 11th place. Actually, Cuero started back in 12th.
You're right, and somehow he's up to 4th. I didn't think we've had that many cars fall out from the top spot. He looks like he might be 5th before all is said and done. Guyon, oh my goodness, he is just a rocket ship in a straight line. Look at this. The 808 going around the outside of Doohan. Oh, don't touch wheels, boys. We've already seen that once today in that corner. They keep away from each other. Alex is going to prevail as they come through the southern loop.
You're right, that was a huge run for Guyon there on the straightaway. And it didn't help that Cuero went defensive, hugged that right side, and now look at this, it might be 3 wide. A little bit of contact with Raymond Day, that's going to send Cuero off.
Oh, that was a bit rude. Shoving him off course. Let's watch the replay again. Ricciardo's perspective. That's Day we see in the 77.
I think by the time that he decided it wasn't a good move, it was too late.
Certainly looks like that. It's unfortunately caused a fair bit of damage to the rear of his car. Makes you wonder how much Day has as well. Speaking of damage, Sirwa also had to come to the pits to get his repaired after his contact, so he might be out of this race already. And we watch our leader, Greg Seitz, heading across the line to start another lap with a handy 2-second lead over Hermer.
That three-car battle we just saw as well between Day, Guyon, and Quero, that was a couple seconds in front of David Holland, and he's going to be able to move quite a bit further up. And now look at this.
Side by side once again, Prue still fighting with Legault. They've been left to their own devices by Holland. And it looks like Prue's got it. Nope, over under there potentially from Legault. Looks like his momentum halted somewhat on that second apex. Still looking for that overlap. Now he ducks back into the tire tracks of the car ahead, getting that little bit of the slipstream, coming up to Honda. Long way around once again, but yet again, there's just not enough grip there. In fact, there is no grip because he almost loses the car. Here comes Rosenbaum sneaking through the inside. Sheldon snatches P8.
Legault might be able to fight back here a little bit.
I'm sure he'd like that spot back. He was looking at a position and then suddenly lost one instead of taking one. We watch from Olivier's perspective. It really gives you a sense of how blind that crest is down into MG.
Yeah, there you can see him following. A little bit of a wiggle there. Good catch.
That's going to cost him, it looks like.
Yeah, he might be demoted here out of the slipstream.
And I think Day did get some damage because he has come into pit lane.
Yep.
Now, I think we have, yes, it looks like we've got David Sirwa ready to talk to us. Oh, no, wait, maybe not, because I see him out on track right now. He has headed back out on track, so we won't bother David. We thought he was looking for an interview with us, so we'll maybe talk to him post-race. In the meantime, on screen, looks like a little bit of a battle still going on between Legault and Rosenbaum.
Yeah, this one hasn't given up. Olivier Legault, after that big slide right about this part of the track, he's still trying to get after it here. Wants that spot back, wants to get around the 113.
Rosenbaum, another one that's made big gains here today, from 16th up to 7th. Oh, wow, deep on the brakes for Legault.
Yeah.
That's not the first time we've seen that. He is very confident on the binders today.
And doesn't have a big slide this lap, so he's going to have a big run here on the Gardner straight. He already jumps to the right side, though. That's going to hurt his momentum. There he goes.
Legault's got the overlap. He's almost nose to nose, but his car starts to stall out here. It's going to take a mighty effort to try and do this into the southern loop without the track position that he wants. He's somehow holding around the outside for part of the corner, but not all of it. And he falls behind Rosenbaum once again. Little poke out. Stays back there. Is he going to try and surprise him? Nope, can't quite, because that side of the track is covered off down into Honda.
Rosenbaum went defensive there, but got up on the curb. He lost a lot of grip again. But that time it's Rosenbaum losing the grip. Now Legault's going to be able to take advantage of that on the inside. Not able to clear him. Not quite yet. Now it looks like he might be able to.
Just snuck in front, and that has brought in Rod Clenard. Oh, wow, Rod with a lot of speed here up through Hayshed into Lukey Heights and just breezed past Rosenbaum in that. So Rosenbaum loses 2 positions. Poor Legault, remember, he was actually fighting for 6 before with Prue. And for him to just now get past, unfortunately, is not exactly what he wanted, even though it is a step in the right direction. So for those curious about David Holland and his progress, He's catching up with Guyon. He's up in 5th right now. And he's got about 10 seconds up to Greg Seitz. I don't think he's going to be able to run him down over the course of this race unless we see an issue from Greg.
Yeah, that's a tall order to ask of David Holland. He is, like you said, right there on Alex Guyon, looking for 4th place. Pretty miraculous that he's fighting for 4th place right now.
By the way, we didn't catch it there on screen, but Rod Clenard passed Legault as well. So the
Yeah.
027, despite only a mediocre qualifying, well, actually, no, he's coming back through the field. He's up to 7th after qualifying 8th. So was he the one that was involved in that opening wreck that we saw?
Yep, he spun on lap 1. Didn't hit anything though, just like his teammate David Holland.
Let's take a look at that since we're watching him here. Because I did see him slide through the field, which is honestly
this
very
is
lucky.
incredible what he did here. So much traffic that you can see. That's all 24 cars all racing together on lap 1.
I did see what caused it. Oh, we got help.
And then right through him.
Oh. You can't get much more lucky. I don't think there was hardly a paper between he and those other 2 cars he threaded the needle through. Sometimes racing just goes your way. I think he's trying to make the best of it. Prue and Guyon, Guyon and Holland, rather. No, Holland's just overtaken Guyon.
He
So that
has.
actually happened quicker than we thought.
Yeah, that was back on the Gardner straights. Guyon went defensive to the right. And Holland was able to sweep right by him.
Take a look at that. Holland could minimize the damage here. I thought maybe this is what Seitz needed to get back in the game in the championship, and it still will help if he finishes ahead of him. Oh, wow. Through doing just swept by.
Yeah, I wouldn't put a podium out of reach of David Holland right now at all.
It's only about 3.5 seconds up to David McDonald, currently in the final podium position. So yeah, that could be doable. We'll keep an eye on those laps between those two. We'll check in on them now that both of them are in clear air. Let's check back with Ponik, though, in 10th place, where we got a nice little battle. The number 34 and the number 71.
Yeah, it's Don Lee. Almost got a big run to get up alongside of him through there. Just not enough width in the track. Not enough grip out there. Now he's going to try back on the other side. But it's going to be a defensive move here for Ponik. That will shut the door, and it'll keep it shut. Oh, yeah.
That was Legault. He just went by. He spun it. That's the second time we've seen him lose control out of Honda corner.
Oh, he was racing with Sheldon Rosenbaum.
He goosed it.
This was a battle for 8th place at the time. Yeah, didn't have help. Almost did.
Rosenbaum just managing to avoid contact, and that's going to put Sheldon back up into 8th position. Also promotes Ponik and Lee up to battling for 9th. In fact, it's a trio of cars here, because that is Kevin Santana at the back of the train in the dark number 666. Nobody really getting a good enough run up the Gardner straight among these 3. They're all going to stay put. We are down to 21 cars left driving, by the way. Serrois must have had a second issue because he's back in pit lane. Cuero is out, and Verity is out unless they come back to the track after extensive repairs. It's been 10 minutes or more for both of them.
These 3 here kind of at a stalemate right now. Haven't really been able to see anyone take a jab at another one. A little bit different lines through there, through Siberia.
And if they're just settling in now, because we're firmly through the first third of the race. So drivers probably just trying to get themselves a pattern, get the race going, stay out of trouble, see if something comes their way. Santana certainly getting close to the back of Don Lee, though, through MG corner. Neither of them looks like they're going to head into the pits. Everybody going to stay out. We could get some early stoppers this time through. Onto the Gardner straight. Don Lee probably going to be under attack here. Santana getting a few miles an hour quicker, pulling off to the right side. And he's through. That's going to give Santana 10th now.
Santana almost able to convert that run into a run around Ponick. Not quite able to with the nature of the track, but he's certainly going to have a good look here, I think.
And don't need to go to it, but Clenard had a little slide, and that meant that he lost a position right in front of these guys, as Santana does indeed want the next position, being forced to go the hard way by Ponick, and then almost shoved off track. Back to the racing line, still has his wheel next to him. Ponick looking for a late apex, but that opened the door enough that it looks like Santana could have this one wrapped up, and indeed, he is through.
See if he can keep it here. Don't think there's a great passing opportunity for Mark Ponick. Yeah, he's going to scoot away. Wow, look at that.
If he's got a bit of downforce cranked into that thing through Lukey Heights. Santana just off like a shot. He's now up to P9. Next on his list is going to be the driver that I just mentioned that spun, Rod Clenard, about 2 seconds up the road. Really is our best battle still back here. We haven't seen much action anywhere else in the field ever since we lost some of those battles up front. Don Lee working on Mark Ponick. This is for 10th position.
Yeah, Lee wasn't able to get a big run there on the straightaway. I think he might have a little more downforce than these other two. Not able to close in the gap too much. Here he's got a little bit of momentum. Not enough, though.
Down into Honda. Mark Ponick still holding Don Lee at bay. Lee having started in 13th up to this 11th position. Ponick, though, 18th. Pretty far at the back of the field there. And now looking at the top 10, so no wonder he's fighting for this one. They're not going at it right now, so let's give a little bit of a look to Greg Seitz here for a second. Car still looks clean. Haven't seen any dramas from our end. The number 74 could be up for, I believe, yes, his second victory this season if he can bring it home.
Yeah, just Lime Rock is the other place he won, just barely over David Holland. Other than that, Holland has won every single race this season. He's won the other 5.
So at best, he can only tie him on wins, but at least Greg has been pretty consistent up there. He's finished in the top 5 in every round, and Holland is the only other person to have done that this season. It's like, did Ponick get by here?
No, they
they're in the same position they were.
But it looked like Don Lee might be able to make a pass there. He looked to the outside, but Ponick went defensive.
Tried to do the over-under, but it doesn't seem he was close enough. That'll stay as is then. Weird that Santana was able to pull away so quickly, and now it seems like he can't stretch that gap any farther.
Yeah, he was good in the slipstream. He had a good shot of momentum there on one lap, and like you said, just doesn't seem to be able to improve on that pace. In fact, it looks like as we go on board with Don Lee, a little bit of a run there for Ponick was able to close in on him, and Ponick is going to go to the pits, and Kevin Santana's off track.
What in the world?
Big
Did he
time
dip
into
his
the barrier.
tires into the dirt? How did that happen? He must have had a hardware failure, or maybe just plain old brain fade, because he just goes straight.
He goes straight and then he catches it later. I do wonder if that was some kind of hardware failure. and he was just feeling it at that point that he was in the gravel. Either way, he's hit the tire barrier and very quickly has retired from the race.
Yeah, that is sad to see after he was doing a good job coming forward. So that promotes everybody behind him up one. Looks like Ponick is back out after his stop. It was a quick one. The number 34 is now in 15th position. Talked about Greg Seitz. How about Hermer, though, sitting third in the points and now looking at a second place, probably ahead of Holland. This will be a nice little boon for him to maybe try and get closer and back in the hunt for things. Take a lot of good results after this, though, to really be serious about it, but you just never know.
And remember, in the terms of teams championship running, this is going to be a front row lockout for Rust Racing Iron with Seitz and Hermer. Holland, Day, and Clenard with Vantage Azuro, they've all had problems today.
Ooh, yeah, that's going to be crushing. Rosenbaum has finished his stop, so it looks like he's going to be emerging. Legault also in. Clenard's our highest pitter currently, and Rosenbaum is easily out ahead of him, it looks like. There you see Legault also back on track. He returns in 14th. Now, Legault was fighting with Ponick, wasn't he? Or am I thinking? I might be thinking of someone different. I think it was Don Lee, excuse me. Yes, it's Don Lee, and he's still out there. Tyler Gore also pitting.
Greg Seitz is coming.
Our leader pits. Checking to see if Tyler Gore hit something.
And Hermer,
Long stop.
McDonald, and David Holland all in. Everyone's in.
There we
Here
go.
comes Alex Guyon. There's the top 5.
We've only got 20 minutes left to go, so this makes sense. We're probably at the end of the pit window here. Lee pits. Seitz is back out. Doesn't even lose the lead. Just incredible.
I think he's going to extend the lead, actually, because Hermer's gone out. McDonald. Oh, David Holland has caught up big time to David McDonald. I think Holland's going to jump up to the podium here.
And I don't think he took tires. That looked like a very fast stop for the number 18. So we now ride on board with Holland, giving chase on McDonald. And then right up in front of them, that is Daniel Kranefuss. There's a lapped car. He's going to pull out of the way. We're going to check and see what the laps look like before the pit stops here. A bit of a moot point at this point, but could help us clue in how easy this might potentially be for David Holland. Excuse me, we're looking at the pit comparison, not the lap comparison.
A lot quicker for Holland.
Hopefully put enough fuel in on it. Either way, he knows what he's doing. And now they come up through Lukey Heights, seeing if he could get back onto the podium.
He's got a ways to go up to Sam Hermer.
Worth noting, well, actually, you know what? I think this is mostly explained by the pit stop. I was going to say it's gone from 10 seconds down to 8.7. So a little less than 2 seconds gained on Seitz, but again, he was 2 seconds quicker than Seitz in the pit stall. So I'm guessing that's not pace on track. That's just him using this strategy call to gain a little bit of ground. Still, he is hounding McDonald. He's not letting him get away. Ooh, this looks potential.
It does indeed. Right up to the back of him. He's going to take the preferred line as well. Late on the binders, a little bit wide in the corner. Is McDonald going to be able to fight back? He will, but he's, again, going to be stuck on the outside here in Siberia. Trying the crossover.
No defense there from McDonald. Crossover doesn't quite pay dividends. They are going to pick up speed here through Hayshed, and he's going to gain on him, but he elects not to try and look for a pass.
Once you've let David Holland past you, it's going to be tough to get back around him. He's gonna need a sling. He's gonna need to stay with him and slingshot around the Gardner Straight, I think. And
Holland trying to
already,
minimize the damage on the championship points he will lose to his main rival here. That was Crane Foose heading into the pits. That's just a lapped car. He's awful close. McDonald is going to have a very good shot at it. He's going to have to go the long way around of doing, but this is going to give him the inside into the southern loop. Is
if
this
he can
actually
hold
going to
it,
work out? Wow.
Holland is so fast through there.
I think that's the first time we've seen not only that decision, but that sort of defense work even.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see what kind of run he gets through Stoner. Looks pretty good. Holland doesn't go defensive, and McDonald's going to back off quite a bit there.
Guess you could just wait until the end, maybe. Potentially.
He can hold with him.
Yeah. Got to do it for 16 more minutes. It's a number of laps to try and keep up with a multi-time champion, a guy who's very clearly fast.
Yeah, I would honestly want to try to get around him as soon as possible and then keep him behind you. Obviously a tall order.
To be fair, if he does ride behind him, there's 5.3 seconds up to Sam Hermer. Maybe he's thinking, I can get a position out of this if, if I stick with him.
True.
See how sneaky he's going to be, or is he going to hold back? Nope. He's taking another look. It's the same story. It's going to be McDonald on the left and Holland on the right. This time he doesn't have nearly as much overlap as we saw before, though.
See what he can do in the southern loop. Oh, he's got to back off. Oh, try a late charge there. Holland he's got this thing down.
And I think Holland's pushing. You saw how close he came to the outside of the track there, using as much of it as possible. Just making him think. David McDonald poking his nose out here and there, getting into the mirrors of the number 18, but nothing doing really at this point.
Seems to me that McDonald gets a big run through Siberia too, and he might be able to push that issue, but I don't think he wants to make contact with Holland in Honda corner. We've seen a lot of wheels touch there, and I think the last thing he wants to do is disrupt Holland's championship run.
Certainly, yeah, you don't want to ruin things, especially. Whoa!
Big wiggle.
Holland. Remember I said he didn't take tires? I wonder if he's starting to feel the effects of that.
That might be one of the factors keeping McDonald in this fight. All right, take 3.
McDonald's same spot this time, but he was a lot closer. This time he's going to be fully alongside as they come up to Dewan. Has he learned anything new? No. In fact, it almost looks like a little bit of a lift there to let him through.
Now let's see what kind of run he gets here.
I don't know if he's really trying anything here, unless he's just trying to fake him out.
He keeps looking. He just can't quite, if the track was a couple hundred feet longer here, I think he'd be able to have a shot at it.
Just not enough tarmac for the number 6 to get past the 18 down into that sharp hairpin. Another interesting note in this race, we are down to 14 drivers on the lead lap. Because of the short lap times around here, Seitz has put a number of them behind him a second time. Not much has changed in terms of weather either. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, not at all. McDonald is really, looks like a lot, Holland rather, he washes up in the corners a lot more. I think it's definitely the tires giving way. McDonald once again taking a peek. Gets that front wing ahead, but that's about all he can do.
So he falls back in line. Still, I guess you could say he's gathering information here. He's becoming aware of what's possible. And again, I said it earlier, he could be thinking last lap stuff here. Maybe he's testing to see how far alongside him he can get win on the Gardner Straight.
That's true. We'll see if Holland and McDonald are taking notes when it comes to that. Good battle back here for 12th place as well. Don Lee taking a peek to the outside of Christopher Richards. Lee, of course, fighting back from his incident he had earlier. Richards started in 20th, and he's up to 12th. Make that
Down into
13th.
the southern loop. I think Christopher is going to have to give way. Don Lee up to P12.
Richards going to fight back. Lee
Takes
going to
the
go defensive.
inside. Very good on the brakes. Richards tries to hold on, but it's not quite there.
Good attempt from Richards. Good run.
Absolutely. Falls back a little bit coming out of Siberia. Now, I think for sure this time, because I'm looking at David Roy as we go back to that battle between Holland and McDonald. David Sirois has been in the pits for nearly 20 minutes now. I think we are safe to talk to him at this point and not get surprised as we pull him in. David, commiserations on the day ending a little bit early here. Your thoughts on the incident there with David Holland?
Well, I'm pretty sure it's my fault. The car was was pushing a lot in the first corner in the first few laps on cold tires. So when I went into the turn, I need to lift a bit in the two or three first laps, and this time since I wanted to pass Holland, I didn't lift, and I was a little wide, and we touched a bit. That was close. It's a little unfortunate because the Lavoie Motorsport casting offer the Nitro 360 car was very surprisingly good in race here in the early stage of the race. That's unfortunate.
It really is. But, I mean, that says a lot about you that you're willing to put your hand up and take responsibility for an incident. So I'm sure that counts for something. This will hurt in the championship for sure. But do you already look towards next week and think maybe you can make up for it with a good result?
Hard to say. At Monza, I think everything can happen there, and I have no idea what kind of setup we are going to use to have good top speed and for the car to be good in the DSs. So I have no idea. I had never run there with the F3 car, so I hope everything is going to be fine until the end of the race because the team really. I'm looking for the words in English. I think it would be very good for the team to be in the top 3 or 4 or 5 at the end of the championship. I really hope everything is going to be fine.
David, we've been watching a couple of drivers like David Holland right now slide all over the track. Of course, he didn't take tires, but earlier when you were out on the track, we've been watching the weather too. A lot of wind and an overcast day here in Australia. What is the car feeling like out there?
Well, I cannot say for David Holland, but my car was very good. But I didn't check at the wind. Maybe it's the reason why I went wide in the first corner. Maybe that can explain why we had a contact. I didn't feel really the wind to disturb the car on the track. It was really fine everywhere on the track except for the first corner in the first few laps.
Well, again, sorry that your race ended early, but on track, we've been watching a really good battle, and actually it's still going side by side here between McDonald and David Holland, and a little bit of wheel spin, unfortunately, going to keep McDonald from being able to make that pass as he finally falls back. That was David Sirois coming to join us, who unfortunately has DNF'd. But you could see on your screen as we were talking to him that Holland and McDonald are just having a knockdown, drag-out fight for this third spot.
Yeah, McDonald finally went to the inside of Honda corner. Almost made it work. Like he said, we have seen so little grip on the inside there at the exit. So many people have spun off there or had a lot of wheel spin. McDonald able to keep it going the right direction, and he's able to stay within reach of Holland. Let's see what he does again on the Gardner straightaway.
This is looking pretty ideal for David McDonald. At Number 6 car closes in. Interesting that it's always right smack dab in the middle of the road for David Holland. Oh, and then he weaves back out. Almost tried to pinch him in until the last second there. And it almost looks like that worked.
Yeah, I wonder why this is. We used to be seeing Holland go a little bit more defensive, but now McDonald's just getting way more aggressive as the clock ticks down.
I guess David now figured out that they're not going to catch Sam Hermer at this rate. Might as well go for the 3rd spot. And this time a little bit defensive down into Honda from Holland.
We've been talking about maybe it's a last lap effort that McDonald's doing. I think it's going to have to be at this point.
It certainly seems like it. Let's watch this time when they get to this start-finish line and see if he's able to actually overtake. As they come down into MG. Ooh, he's staying close. This is the sort of position he needs to be in. That finish line comes very late on the straight. I'll call it out when we get to it. It's easy to tell with that sign up above it. Closes in. Closes in. No, he's not going to be there. It's right there. So that won't do it.
And he didn't push the issue this time either. He stayed right in the slipstream of Holland. Looks back to the inside. Yeah, you're right. Holland seems to be just right on rails in the middle of the track right now, making it very hard to pass.
Ooh, this looks promising for McDonald. Covering off the inside of Honda. Holland is going to go wheel to wheel yet again. Who knows how many times this is at this point between these two. A little bit smoother on the throttle for both of them this time, though.
Yeah, they both, it looks like they actually both dealt with a little bit of wheel spin there that McDonald just wasn't willing to be too aggressive with.
The only battle remaining out on the track. Everybody else is spread apart from one another. 5 minutes left to go now. Is that lap traffic in front of them? Yes, it is. They're coming up to David A. Bear. Could he potentially play a factor in this? Oh, falling off the back of Holland's gearbox. McDonald with a little slip up. Look at the weaving down that Gardner straight. Holland just trying to break it as best he can.
Holland didn't go straight to the middle that time either.
Different lines for both cars coming into the corner. Off of it, back onto the throttle. Picking up speed as they come up to Stoner. 145 miles an hour through that sweeper and then back on the binders. Not an attempt this time since he wasn't quite close enough. McDonald, could he find himself out of tire as he used his stuff up and battling back and forth with David Holland?
We'll see.
A Bear's going to let them through.
Yep.
Nice heads up from him. Don't think they're anywhere near any other lap traffic. The next car up is Hermer, still 6.7 seconds up the road.
Looks like a pretty good dive there from McDonald. He might have a big run here if he can get through turn 12 nicely. Looks like he might. Where's Holland gonna go?
First he held on the right side, now he's opening the door. McDonald going to the left. They come up to Doohan. A little bit of an overlap, but not much, and it's going to deny him yet again. Looks to the right side, comes to turn into the southern loop, and once again, Holland is right there in front of his windscreen with no place to get around him. He is making life difficult for him.
Yeah, that was such a late move for McDonald. Now he's got a nice one, though. Side by side through Honda. He's going to have to duck out of it. He's going to try the slow in, fast out approach, but it's not going to be enough. Big gap now between Holland and McDonald. Can he fight back?
Credit to the 6. He's trying everything. I feel like we've seen him on both sides of the track into just about every corner
Yeah.
at this point that you can have a go.
You got to remember who he's fighting with too. I mean, generally the pack can't even keep up with Holland. He is staying right with David Holland, who is really working those old tires.
We are 2 to go. Sights just crossing the line right now ahead of them. All this fighting has certainly slowed them up a lot. It's now 12.3 seconds behind the overall leader. A little bit farther behind from McDonald's. He will get that slipstream, but he's going to run out of straightaway.
It's going to be his penultimate attempt as well.
And I think Ponik had a spin and lost some positions in MG corner.
He has.
It's an easy place to do this. Yeah. Just locked him up on the way down, and unfortunately, the car went around on him.
I think only the go got by him.
I think you're correct. Ponik now down to 10th. We'll go up to P9 as we come back to this battle for third. So how aggressive are we going to see him now? Ooh, he's very close. He can stay this close. This is going to be a great opportunity. Sights is just now taking the white flag. Ooh, a little bit of a look into the penultimate corner. That actually might hurt him more than anything and slow him up.
He's digging deep, but yeah, I think he dug in the wrong place there. Holland's going to try to weave, trying to break that draft.
Donald's not having anything of it. He stays put in his line. I think he knew he's not going to get a chance to pass here. Could it be Honda corner? Is that his last gasp effort?
It's going to have to be, but I think he did the same thing there. I think he took a jab at the wrong part.
I thought maybe he was trying to square off the corner to get a good run here,
Yeah.
which wasn't the greatest of, and he's just not quite there. Got to be frustrating for McDonald with how hard he's been working to try and get this position. We'll go to our leader in a bit. So we try and stay here just in case something happens. And it's not looking likely at this point. We go to our leader, Greg Seitz. It's been a while since he's taken a victory in this series, but he's coming back at him. He's going to take this championship by the scruff of its neck, and Greg Seitz will win here in Australia.
Hermer's going to get second place right behind him. There you see on board, comes across the line, and just a few seconds back, David Holland. He is going to be able to hold on to this position. What a fight it has been for David Holland to secure this podium.
He was definitely made to work hard for that one, so might be the best third place he's ever felt like getting. Meanwhile, Sheldon Rosenbaum, and Clenard is going to have him, I think. He's got greater straight line speed, and at the line, he sneaks past Sheldon.
I think Rosenbaum missed the shift.
Missed a shift? This is a paddle shift car.
It sounds like he waited a little too long and never shifted up.
Oh, so he hit the limiter. Meanwhile, Christopher Richards is going to be the last one to cross the line. And then we're going to take ourselves to a break here. So make sure and stick around because we've got more coming up in the post-race show, including driver interviews as well as the unofficial results. Also on screen, you can see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to Phillip Island Circuit. We just watched round 7 in the PRL F3 series. Greg Seitz takes another win along with the bonus point for pole. So this is going to be a nice day for him. Sam Hermer finished in second, 6.5 seconds back. David Holland managed to climb back up to third, considering he started in second, was even in the lead at the start of the race when he had a much better go off the line than Seitz. It's got to be at least a little bit frustrating in that sense. But David McDonald's probably even more frustrated coming home fourth with how many times he tried to pass Holland. Sebastian Prue was fifth from 19. That is a run we didn't cover enough, I think. That is phenomenal. Alex Guyon was sixth today, with Rod Clenard finishing in seventh. Then you got Sheldon Rosenbaum from 16th to 8th. Another good day for that driver. And Olivier Legault finished in ninth, with Mark Honig rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, and then back behind them, Raymond Day, who had a couple of incidents throughout the night. He started 11th, and that's exactly where he's going to finish in P11 in that 77 machine. Don Lee, he again had some incidents and some good battles back where he was. He was fighting with Christopher Richards. Lee was able to edge him out towards the end by quite a big margin. Lee's going to come home 12th. Richards going to come home 13th behind them. All those drivers are going to be a lap down.
Yep, unfortunately bad days for them. But we have Greg Seitz, who's had his best day in a while, I'm sure. And we'll talk to our winner here to see how he feels finally back on the top step of the podium. Greg, it looked at the start of the race like you almost threw away a good opportunity, and then suddenly the racing gods smiled on you. Does it feel like that one's kind of a long time coming?
Yeah, I'm not sure what opportunity I almost threw away though.
Well, you lost the lead at the very start. What happened with the
Well,
go off the line?
That's my typical terrible start, so that's pretty standard for me.
Well, you fought back well because you were back up in front by the time you completed lap 1. Were you surprised you were able to snatch that back so quickly?
No, I felt like I had really great pace here. We worked really hard this week to kind of make sure that we had a really good setup and really good pace. And I saw in the practice session that I was able to outpace David. So, unless he was sandbagging on me, I thought we had a good chance. So, this being a pretty good draft track too, so it's very easy to get that back if you drop back, as long as you don't let the guy gap you. And I decided, I didn't want a repeat of last season, so I tried to get ahead of him and hold the inside line where possible, rather than being on the outside and getting that coated off the track.
We even talked about that from last season, that instead it was Holland that had the contact this time. But you talked about the slipstream races that we have here. It's going to be probably even worse when we go to next round at Monza. I mean, how do you approach that since it's so much of a crapshoot sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, that's like almost racing an oval, isn't it? It's just basically we're going to go with obviously a very low downforce and try to get something that balances the bit of turns that there are to deal with. But you have to be fast in the straight line for sure. So yeah, who knows?
Well, we'll keep an eye out for you. Again, congratulations on win number 2. This was a much needed boost in your championship hunt.
Yeah, I'm really happy with the result, and bad luck for David with what happened with him and the other David. So, but yeah, it looked like he did a great job making a comeback too, and my teammate Sam did a fantastic job as usual. So yeah, I'm looking like really good in the team standings at least.
That's true. That was Greg Seitz, our winner here today. And up next, I believe that we've got Nick talking to Sam Hermer.
I am indeed. Sam Hermer coming home in second place tonight. That's a nice change of pace from being stuck behind Greg and David.
Well, again, I didn't really feel like I should be here. I mean, I had a very good view of David Holland being knocked off the track. That was relaxing in a way.
Yeah, and that's a front row lockout as well for your team. That's already you were able to extend that points lead last week over David and his guys, but this is certainly going to play in your favor now.
I mean, I don't know if you guys saw it on camera. I just watched a bit of the replay where was it? Raymond Day just like wiped out his teammates. So if they can carry on doing that for the next few weeks, that'd be great. Fairly ordinary race for me, really. I didn't really have much to do other than just concentrate and try not to make any mistakes. You guys probably know this track is like really punishing on the tires. So like you make a mistake, it compounds, and so yeah, I was just pounding around, hitting all my points. I can tell you, by the way, that Greg was going nowhere near his ultimate pace. Greg is basically the fastest guy I've seen on the platform this whole week. He had some secret pace that he was holding in reserve. He was just playing with me, basically, just sort of matching my pace, going a little bit quicker. But yeah, Greg had another maybe 3 or 4 tenths a lap that he could have got off that.
Wow, that is certainly impressive. Yeah, and he was even pulling away from you at certain times. So I guess that answers my next question. I was going to ask you the pit strategy for all of you guys. Everyone in the top 5 or 6 came in at the very same time. I'm guessing with that kind of pace, knowing that Greg had that kind of pace, you knew you weren't going to be able to jump.
Yeah, there was no way I was catching Greg today. Absolutely no way. I mean, I've been practicing with him all week. I know how fast he is, so I think everybody comes in more or less on the same lap because the pit window is very small. Like so lap 17, lap 18 was basically the pit window. It's a lot of fuel consumption here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Sam, congratulations on your second place finish today. Fun race at Phillip Island for you. And before we let you go, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
No, just shout out to my team. Did a lot of good teamwork, staring at graphs again this week. Come up with some unorthodox strategies. So yeah, just thanks to my team and thanks to you guys.
Absolutely. That's Sam Hermer coming home in second place today in that number 11 machine.
And then finally, we have David Holland here. Since we got to hear from Sirwan, obviously you were in the car, so you didn't get to pay attention to the interview, David, but he did put his hands up and say that he accepted fault for the incident. Let's get your side of the story, though.
Yeah, hey, Joe. Well, first of all, congrats to Greg and Sam. They ran a great race today. Wish I could have been up there battling them. Yeah, it was a battle of the Davids out there today. The incident was right. I mean, I appreciate him taking responsibility. Also, I could have backed out of it. So I mean, it's racing. I know that for the first few laps it pushes, so it was a risk for me to try and stick it on the outside there and make it stick. Knowing that. So I'll take a little bit of responsibility there too. I mean, I probably should have taken a little bit easier there in the opening few laps, but had to fight my way back up there though.
You really did. And speaking of that, have you worn your teeth down? Because it looked like you had to grit them pretty hard to keep McDonald behind you.
Absolutely. Starting to second guess my decision not to take tires. I thought maybe there was a chance I could get up to Sam if I could jump David and then start gapping him some. Obviously, that didn't materialize, and then I was paying for it there towards the end of the race. I could not get the thing to turn to save my life. But fantastic racing by David McDonald. I mean, that was a lot of fun. It's more fun doing stuff like that and not winning than it is just running away with it. So, I mean, overall, that was a really just fantastic and fun race to be a part of.
I'm glad you could find some enjoyment in it. Again, commiserations that wasn't higher up, but third place is still points on the board. We'll hopefully talk to you next week.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
As David Holland, clearly a racer through and through, always just looking for a good race out there, not necessarily to dominate everybody. But we're going to close out with some thank yous, starting off with our sponsors, of course, Ninja Trader, who you can find at ninjatrader.com if you want to see what they can do for you, and also Butt Kicker. You can find them at thebuttkicker.com if you want to get some gear for your sim rig. Also, thanks to iRacing for putting us on IESN, and thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts that you see listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work, which, by the way, she released a single today. So if you want to check out new music, it is fresh and hot. Thanks to the team today, Nick, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media, with Twitter being at GSR Channel, Facebook, Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. The next race, as we mentioned, heading over to Italy. That'll be Thursday, May 7th at 9 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.